we only have about 6 people in the class, so we're pretty much all here. So um, I know one person's not going to be here for sure. Uh, Actually, I'm kind of excited. It's kind of a small class because I think it'll be good. Um, but today's pretty straightforward. I like to, especially especially during the winter quarter. It's kind of a weird, like the dates are weird when we meet and when the semesters, like we have this kind of weird break, like 2 weeks in, then we have a 2 week break. It's kind of a weird schedule, and so I like to try to meet before that. So I'm going to go over some super basic things just about the class, and we're going to have plenty of time for you guys to ask questions or not, so we could get through in 20 minutes or an hour. It's really up to you guys. I just wanted to be available mainly to jump in and talk a little bit about what I'm expecting from you. This is going to be different because unless you're an MFT, this is it. So you have made it. You have done it. You're at the end, and this will be a transition for you from school world to the state licensing world, and we're going to talk about that too, probably several times between now and middle of, I guess, the end of February. Um, this class is very low academics, like in terms of like there's no research paper. I'm going to have you just do one reflection paper. The description's on Moodle right now. You can look at it. Um, I did change one thing. I don't know if I took it off Moodle. I don't think it's anywhere else, but up until this semester, we used to have to do a learning styles paper, but we're not doing that anymore either. So really, all you're turning into me is the reflection paper, which is just a one-page reflection on your practicum. There's a couple of questions I ask you to go over, and then all your hours and your evaluations from your supervisor and your self-evaluation, which is everything you turn into Dr. Johnson. You're going to turn the same things into me. Except this time, I want all the hours, like everything you've accumulated from the time you started until you're done, if that makes sense. And all that should equal 300 with 100 direct out, client facing direct hours. I mean, it might be more. I mean, everyone's going to have different numbers. It just depends on where you got in your hours and, how quickly you were able to get them. So those are the only things I need from you. Um, and I love to get all of those things like by the end of the ninth week of the semester, because that gives us 4, 5, 6 days to kind of, if we need some cushion to go, like if anything's missing, like sometimes it's hard getting the supervisor eval sometimes takes a little bit of time, depending on what's going on with them, things like that, if we need a little bit of cushion. Having said that, if you want to go in right now today and do your reflection paper on your practicum, you can do that because you've done enough practicum work at this point. If you wanted to do that and knock it out, you can do it and just load it onto Moodle. That's awesome. Um, and so those are like class wise, those are the two things that I need. And that's it. That makes sense?
Yes.
Okay. Because you're busy. You got plenty going on. We don't need to slam you with a bunch of other stuff. Um, this class, we're going to meet 4 more times, like spread out throughout the semester. We're going to meet 4 more times, and it's going to consist of we're going to do case anyone that wants to bring a case to the class to talk about, maybe something they're struggling with, or maybe they want to ask some questions about what they've done, or whatever, anything like that. We'll do that at the beginning of every class. We'll set aside time for that. We're also going to talk about, like I said, this kind of transition from the school world into the state licensing world, which is it's a big jump. There's a lot going on with it. Um, but I'm going to go over several things. I actually try to have former students come and talk about that too. Just kind of talk about the exam and doing the application for the licensure and those type of things. And we're gonna cover all that stuff. We have 10 weeks to basically. Well, actually, we have 12 weeks this time because we have a long time before the end of the semester. So we have plenty of time to get into all of those things. And so um, I'll do my best to try to give you as much current information as I can. There haven't been a lot of rule changes in the past year, so pretty much everything we're going to talk about is pretty current. Um, is anyone here doing the MFT,
I
Marnie,
am.
Sandra? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Everything I just said, y'all just set to the side because you got all the other practicum, which is fine. Still, you're going to do the same things. You're still going to turn in the same things. You're still going to do the same assignments, everything. You're still turning those things into me. You just have another semester to go, um, which is fine. Uh, is anyone here going to take the exam sometime this semester, this session? I'm just curious.
I'm thinking about it, but maybe right after. Um, yeah,
Okay. Okay. I mean, you have time to think about it. That's a big change that they did after COVID. You could take it pretty much any time. So, um, everyone that took it last time passed, which is good. MFT folks, you can take it too. You can take the exam. And I've actually got some specific exam study materials I can pass along to you guys, like from the state.
That would be great.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is we could actually take the exam now, even though
Mhm.
we have another semester. Technically,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. You have to complete like X amount of hours. But to be honest, most people take it during their last practicum. That's typically when people do it.
Yeah.
Because your last practicum, usually you're kind of finishing up. It gives you more time to study. I think if you had a I don't know what Dr. Johnson talks about, but if you have like a full week that you could really use to just study like 8 to 5, let's say, like for a full week, I think you could do really well on the exam. Um, but there's no pressure to take it. Uh, you can take it whenever you're ready.
I think once we get those study materials from you, if this cohort, if we wanted to get together for a study group, I know I would feel a lot more like encouraged to take it this semester as opposed to afterwards. I mean, I know that it's supposed to be easier than
Yeah,
the test that we took to get into practicum, but I'm
right.
just a nervous test taker. So
Yeah,
I've always excelled with study groups.
yeah. My suggestion would be to try to get that together as quick as you can. And um, the study material for the LPC is different than LMFT, obviously. Um, it's two different types of study material, but the exams are different. The Rosenbaugh material for the LPC is probably the best one. There's another one too. I'm going to give you a bunch of stuff. I'm gonna send you a bunch of stuff. Um, there's one that's an app-based program that a couple of people started talking about last session, and I'll get that information for you too. But you can take that anytime. There's no pressure one way or another. No one, I think everyone is a nervous test taker. That's pretty normal because it's hard. You don't know what's on it. Here's the one thing about it. In classes, you think, oh, I know this material, so I'm going to regurgitate this material. For a national exam, it's I know this material. Now I need to apply it to these questions that they asked. It's totally different. And that also means you're not on the hook to like, I need to make 100. No, 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 no. I need to pass, period. I'm just trying to pass. I'm not trying to like blow this out. I need to pass this. So it's a totally different mindset than like an academic course, right? So, for example, on both the national exams, Sometimes that passing score is like a 68 or a 75 or an 83. And it depends on who's taking the exam at the time. And you'll know that going in, and you'll know if you pass after you take it. So you're not trying to make 100, you're just trying to pass, if that makes sense. That probably doesn't help any, but I'm just saying just the mindset's just you don't you don't have to go into it going, I have to know every single thing. I got to regurgitate everything. I need to make 100. No, I need to study for it, know how to take this exam. It's an application based exam, and I just need to pass. That's it.
For MFT, we don't find out till weeks later, right?
Six weeks, up to 6 weeks.
Oh, six. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's faster than that, but that's what they tell you. I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You guys took the practice exams, right? Before you went into pre-prac.
Yes.
Those are harder than the actual exam usually.
Yeah,
That's
that
what
was,
that's what I'm told.
yeah.
That's what I'm told. So,
Dr. Bernard, I have a question. Do you know if the NCMHCE can be taken? Like, is it a national exam that can be taken in Texas as well?
well, all those are national. It doesn't really matter. I mean, are you going to be in Texas?
Yeah, I'm in Texas and I'm going to get licensed, or at least my provisional license in Texas, and then practice for, as a provisionally licensed clinician for some amount of time, but I'm considering transferring my degree and provisional license to Utah at some point.
So that would mean you would do whatever their process is. So you would have to have your full license first, like be fully licensed. Then
They
you
don't
can.
they don't require the full license. They like you can get your provisional and then yeah, it's a weird process, but they do require both the NCE and the NCMHCE, both national exams.
That's weird. I just get
It
my
is weird.
I just get my full license, then do it after that. That's what I would do. But it's whatever they say. You have to follow. Every state's different. Every state has different regulations. So I'm in 3 states, so they're all different.
What
Yeah.
states?
Yeah, what states?
I'm in Texas, Arizona, and Washington, and I started on the California one, but it's really too much. I don't think I'm going to finish it. Like Arkansas, for example. Like in Arkansas, you have to go do an actual interview there, which is weird. Um, Florida now you can do a virtual license without being fully licensed. There's just all these different rules. It's a totally different. It's like the Wild West because there's no national registry, right? Like psychologists have somewhat of a national registry where there's reciprocation across state lines. No one else has that. Not social work, MFT, or LPC. No one else has that. So you have to do it based on whatever state. So Thomas, whatever they tell you, that's what you do.
Yeah, and I'm speaking with the people over at the Department of Human Services and all the people
Yeah,
that
yeah.
do that. But I am curious about counseling portability, that act that was supposed to have gone through, I guess, shortly after COVID with 17 states, and I think California is on there, isn't it? I'm in Florida, and I mean, I'm curious about that, if that's really actually in effect, and if you're trying to get your licensure in California and it's a struggle. I mean, what's that
It's
about?
it's for psychologists.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, we're not. None of the rest of us are organized and have enough power to do it.
Hmm. I'm
Not that it
surprised.
won't happen eventually, but that's just how it is right now.
I'm surprised MFT or LMFTs don't have enough organization and power
Oh
there.
no, no. What? There's only 4,000 MFTs in Texas, period,
It's
versus
wild.
like 30,000 LPC. So yeah, it's a very small group.
Hmm.
Yeah. If we would all get together, probably would be good, but that's really difficult because we're all in competition with each other for some reason. It's kind of stupid, but that's just how it is. You guys will find all this stuff out when you get into the world of the state world. So, um, the other thing I was going to ask today specifically is anyone worried about finishing hours? Because I think we have until February. I want to say it's the 22nd, but I could be wrong about the dates. Technically, 20th. No, 27th.
I was worried, but well, only because yeah, I'm going for 700, not 300. But I was able to fill in the gaps with Udemy courses. I was approved for essentially distance learning online through Udemy to get some admin hours.
Why were you doing the 700?
Once again, just the minimum requirements for the state of Utah. If I were to go out there, and it's still a big if in the sky right now, but if I were to go out there, then they require a minimum of a 700-hour supervised practicum during the earning of your master's.
But the Texas requirements you're gonna meet no problem.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm already there. I think after the one semester practicum.
yeah, yeah. I'm not gonna worry about the Utah one, just the Texas one. That's all I'm
Yeah,
gonna
no,
worry about.
sorry. I know it's a special case, but just for anybody else that might find that beneficial, if you are worried about it, I mean, yeah, the distance learning is filling in the gaps for me, and I realized that actually it wasn't the direct hours that I was having to worry about. It was the all the admin hours, and yeah, it's been great. I'm learning a lot in Udemy right now.
Okay. Anybody else worried?
No, it's a little harder to get the family hours, but all the other hours because Thomas and I are doing like group therapy. We're getting so many, but just the family hours is kind of challenging for me, of course.
Are anybody in the groups related to each other?
Okay, so the weird thing is okay, so there are two separate groups. The one I'm in now, it's divided by like age. So they're in separate groups now. So no, unfortunately. But sometimes, because of their ages, we'll have to, of course, when they do something, we have to like bring the parents in. So that's kind of that's an opportunity for me to have interaction with the parents. But other
If
than
you
that, it's
if you meet
challenging.
if you meet with both parents, you count it. If you meet with their kid and the parents, you count it.
Count it. Yeah.
You have to get creative.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna ask this again. This won't be the only time.
Okay.
We'll
Okay.
talk about this throughout the time. In terms of just getting your hours, um, there's every once in a while there's someone that's at a site that doesn't get a lot of hours. It hasn't happened as much recently. Usually people have been doing okay. So we just want to know early on. Uh, and I didn't have her on today, but Mary Jane Hall is the person that does all of the phone calls to the site, to all the sites, just to kind of check up on everyone. I'll have her on the next time we meet, um, especially if any of you are going to change sites or anything. You'll want to let her know because she'll have to have that paperwork filed, and then she sends me the reports, and you can see the reports too. But I get those reports throughout the whole time. Um, those are the big things right off the top. Uh, so one other topic that we'll cover is like the business of being like self-employed and tax implications and what that looks like, and like if you're going to have your own practice, we'll talk about that a little bit. Um, the differences in ownerships of practices, like if you end up working at a practice, let's say for your associate license, we'll talk about those. I've loaded a video on Moodle right now. It's an interview I did with a friend of mine, Chris Kendall, who's a CPA, just about being self-employed and what the tax implications are for that. It's very good. It's about a 2-hour interview. He does a great job just breaking it down. There might be some changes to some tax code between that was in 2022, so might be some little changes to some things, but the majority of everything we talked about is going to be pretty much the same. We do that. I started doing that because we don't talk about that during the coursework at all, just because we don't have time. But this is a good space for us to talk about things like that. Um, and we'll have one whole class where I'll go over basically everything I did wrong and tell you not to do it this way so you can do it right. And we'll talk about that. Probably our third class or second or third class. I'll go over some of those things. Um, there's a lot to think about when it comes to that, and the reason why I wanted to bring it up is because there's a big difference between someone that's an employee somewhere that gets W-2 versus what's called a 1099, or you're contracting with someone. If you're contracting with someone, you're on the hook for all of the taxes, the Social Security, the FICA. If you're a W-2 employee, you're only paying half of that, and it's taken out of your check automatically. There's just some things to think about that no one ever talks about. That would just be some stuff for us to kind of look at and walk through. And Chris does a good job of just laying it all out for you. And you can watch that video anytime. He does a good job with that. It's literally during a class. He just comes and kind of leads the class, and they ask questions, and I ask questions, and you can check that out anytime. I've put the most current uh, LMFT and LPC board rules on Moodle as well. You can look at that. Um, there's a site. There's a BHEC site that we'll look at next time too. The Behavioral Health Executive Committee. You can look at that anytime. That has all the rules and to dos and how to get licensed and renewed license, and it's all one clearinghouse for everybody's licensure, LPC and LMFT. We'll look at that too next time. To be quite honest, what I find is this first class, I might go over some of these things, but everyone forgets. And then I just kind of save it until the farther along we go, because then everybody asks me questions about it. We've already gone over it, but you just forget because you're not thinking about it at the time. So some of these things we'll look at later. But like I said, we're not in a big hurry. This semester we can kind of take our time a little bit, um, which is nice. I think that's a good thing. So, any question about any of those things?
How often do you see people hopping right into having their own private practice right out of their, right when they right out of the gate, right? I mean, I would imagine a lot of people would want to be with an organization for some time first, but that's pretty surprising to me that people do that.
Yeah, it just depends on people what they want to do. I mean, I think in theory it sounds good, but people don't understand how what's involved in it. I mean, it's not really hard to start. You can, if you find a space or if you do it virtually, you know, it's not that big of a deal. Um, but I don't know. It's a small percentage, but there's still people that do it after they graduate. Some people are, that's what they want to do, so they do. Up until recently, it was only LMFTs that could do that. Now LPCs can do that. You're still under supervision. So, um, so the way supervision works is when you're an associate, the only way you can practice uh, is by being under supervision, which means you're practicing under their license. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I'm actually kind of considering, I guess I wouldn't be having my own private practice. So where I'm doing my practicum, I'm working with a nurse practitioner of psychiatry, and she has her own private practice. And so she says a lot of her clients really need a therapist, but are struggling to find one because I guess, a lot aren't taking new clients. So she's really wanting me to start working with her once I do graduate. and have, I guess, an online supervisor. So I don't know if that'll be quite the same as having my own private practice, but kind of similar, I guess.
Potentially, yeah. It could be potentially, yeah, very much the same. It just depends on. I'm going to tell you all this information, then you're going to forget it instantly, and I'm going to have to tell you again, but I'm going to tell you anyway. Don't do anything that loses your license before you get it. There's going to be supervisors in other places that are going to push you to start doing maybe more than you're ready to do because of, like, for example, if you take the exam later or not, it doesn't matter because you can't get your associate license until you do the application, go through the application process, which means you have to graduate first. Okay. There's plenty of people that are going to want you to start seeing clients without your associate license, which is unethical. You can't do that. But there's people that will push that. And so you just have to be careful. Now, we offer a way for people to do that until they get their license with the extended practicum, not practicum 3. It's an extended practicum, which is literally just an umbrella and placeholder for you to practice with the same place you're at till you get your license, and then you can drop the class and just keep going. We offer that to people, and so you want to take advantage of that if you can. Um, Morgan, I think it's a great. I mean, that sounds awesome. I think it's great if you already kind of know where you're going to be and someone wants you to be there. I mean, that's awesome. You should definitely keep that because that doesn't happen to everybody. I think it's a great opportunity for sure. I love it. Just don't, just be careful. That's all. Just don't don't do anything that's going to cause you not to have your license. Basically, don't see you can't see clients, and you for sure can't count hours until you have your supervision. I know this sounds weird, but people have tried to do that in the past, and that's not a good not a good thing. So um, anyway, we're going to talk about all these things later too. All these things are going to come up. Um, the big thing probably for you guys now is to go ahead and apply for graduation, even though we don't have like an actual ceremony during the winter, except for Marley and Sandra. You guys will do it in the spring. Everyone else to go ahead and apply because what that does is it starts your transcript process so that when the semester's over, basically you're just getting your transcript and that helps you apply quicker for your license. There's usually a cutoff time. I don't even know when it is this time. You can do all this online too. I don't even know when this is this time. You can go on the Amerton's website and look at where and how to apply for graduation. And again, that just kind of starts a transcript process. You can actually walk if you want in the spring, even though you graduated in the winter. That's fine. You can do that. People do that sometimes. That's up to you if you want to do that or not. So those are all of those things are like the most important things for everyone to know about the class. Um, and obviously you can ask questions if you need, if you need anything, you can shoot me a message. I get back to people within the day usually pretty quick. So um, I can't think of anything else. Those are just all the big things mainly. Any questions about any of the course material, expectations, anything?
The best way to get a hold of you, email or Moodle?
Moodle.
Okay.
Well, you can do either one. Either one.
Okay.
Yeah, either one's fine. Yeah. When there's only 7 of you, it's easier. When I had like 27, it's a little bit harder.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, you can just email me. Any Any other questions?
Will class always be the same time on Saturday, 9 a.m. each time that we have class?
Yep.
Okay.
It's the only time I could work it into my schedule. So what we did when we took this class online is it made it where we kind of had to meet. And so this is like the best day for me to do it. It's either this time or like later on like a Thursday night. And I, that's just late. Doing meeting late to me is really hard. So I'm being selfish, basically. We're going to meet on Saturday at 9 in the morning. Um, and we'll meet, I think twice each month. We're going to meet on the 4th and the 18th in January. We're going to meet on the 1st and 15th in February. So we'll meet 4 more times.
So no more this month.
Yeah, we're done because we only have class this next week. And then we're out like on the 19th until the 3rd or something. It's just that weird kind of holiday schedule. Yeah, we won't meet again this month. I feel like we used to start the semester later, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I think
I'll be switching sites, and I think I've got it figured out. But I'll probably just be emailing with you if there's anything that comes up. It's the kind of thing where, I mean, my primary motivation is to be. I'm in Denton, and it'd be nice to not have to drive to Frisco every day. And I've found another site here in Denton. But the question is, whether or not they'll be able to keep the pace with connections well as where I'm at right now. The amount of hours they've been giving me is significant, and so I've been communicating with my supervisor about, we'll see if they can get me enough clients essentially. I have orientation next week for this site in Denton, and they've said that they're not going to be able to get me clients until January. So I'm just going to continue with the site that I'm at up until that point. And then I told my current supervisor, like, um, we'll see if they can fill the books in January, and if they're keeping me up to speed. And if not, I might just, keep it at the site that I'm at. But in any case, I need to get together another application, a site application, I suppose, for the second site. And I guess there's a possibility I might be doing two sites at once for at least a time. Is that all right to do that?
yeah, that's okay. Yeah, as long as we know what you're doing.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Because what will happen next time is Mary Jane will join us for this class at the very beginning, and if that's changed, you'll just let her know. That way, we kind of keep track of where people are, because that happens. People change sites or add sites. That's not uncommon, and that's not uncommon when you're getting your license either. If you're at a place you're not getting enough hours, it's not uncommon to move somewhere to get the hours. So that's okay,
Great.
as long as we know about it. Any other questions? Okay, that means you can go do something else.
Well, I do actually have a question. It's not
Yeah.
specific to class, but I'm working in a practice that mostly sees couples, but I do see a lot of individuals, mostly about relationship kinds of things. But I'm also wondering if, within couples, there's lots of tools that you can use to kind of work on things in session, but I don't have a lot of resources for individuals. Like, anyway, just working through different kinds of things. I'm just wondering if there's a source or resources out there for like specific, I don't know what the word would be, but just exercises that we would do in session that kind of help process anxiety or, self-reflection kinds of stuff, or anything that you would use with an individual as opposed to with a couple.
Yeah. So anything like there's a lot of information at the Gottman Institute. They have
Mhm.
probably the most, I would say.
Okay.
Um, then if it's individually based, like in terms of like if it's anxiety, let's say, I mean any kind of offshoot of CBT would work with people. Um, you can still do relationship types of help with people individually. You can role play. You can talk about specific, like, I'm making this up. Hey, I know we have trouble with conflict. Um, I know I withdraw and my partner, you know, pursues, or the opposite. You know, my partner withdraws and I pursue, let's say, and you then say they knew that, which you could help them figure that out too individually. You need to
Right.
work on that, staying engaged with each other. You can do any type, basically any kind of mental health work in terms of depression or anxiety or whatever's going on with them. You can do individually with them that's going to help their marriage, right? So a systems thought is that if we work with one part of the system, it's going to have an effect on the other parts of the system. So if we have a positive impact on one part, it's going to have a positive impact on the other,
Right.
unless there's heavy dysfunction overall in the system, and then one part gets functional, but the other part is not functional. Then that's harder.
That's a lot of what I deal with. Right.
Yeah.
I get the
So,
pursuer because they're the ones wanting to work on something. And you've got the distancers home saying, no, I don't want to work on anything. So,
well, and there's reasons why, right? So we need to find out what that is and why someone, and people don't just do it in their relationship. They do it at work. They do it with family. They do it with friends. Most people do that for a reason. You have to find out what it is. Once you find out what it is, then you can help them understand it and be aware of it. And then you can help them stay more engaged in the process. Because if you can get the withdrawer to withdraw less, that pursuer's not going to pursue. They're going to stay. They're going to stay engaged. If
mhm.
that makes sense. That's just an EFT uh,
Sure.
technique. But off the top of my head, that's what I would say.
Okay. Thank you.
There's lots of material at the Gottman Institute that I would say would probably be very helpful
Okay, great. I
there as
actually
well.
took both of their trainings. I just forget to go back and check.
Yeah, they have a lot of good information there.
Mhm.
They have
Okay.
really good. They have some recently. Recently, they put out a lot of really good information for couples that just had a baby and the transition
Yes.
adjustment for that. That's I work with a lot of those folks.
Yeah.
That's a big one. For some reason, it's certain generations are really struggling with that versus older generations. Not that they don't. They're just a different struggle. It's just a different struggle. It's always been a struggle. It's just different now.
Yep.
So don't hear Dr. Bedard say, well, one generation is better than the other. That's not what I'm saying. It's just different. It's just a different struggle. That's all. We have more information now, right? So we can go online, we can go to podcasts, we can look it up, we can read something, and it's so overwhelming that then we think we have to do it, whatever that is, whatever we read or heard, we have to do it exactly like that. If we don't, which is actually a cognitive distortion,
Right.
we don't need to do that. We don't have to be perfect. We actually don't need to worry about being perfect. But that's kind of what's happened with all the information we have, is driving people to be more perfect, which is just driving anxiety up, which is kind of weird if you think about it. It's supposed to lower anxiety, but it's really, anyway, we can talk about a lot of that stuff as we go.
Thank you.
Yeah. Um, like I said, if y'all have questions, don't ever hesitate to reach out. Any other questions before we end? Okay. Now you can go do something else. I'm gonna go teach a lifespan class. So you guys are at the end. Most of them are at the very beginning. It'll be interesting. All right. Y'all have a good weekend. I'll see you January 4th.
Thank you, Dr. Bedard.
Bye.
You
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you.